Hello and welcome to India Tonight. I'm Shivani Gharat. Now, government's action on WhatsApp have triggered debate on digital safety. Government has relayed its concerns to WhatsApp on username feature and how they fear the usernames could be misused for impersonation and fraud. But it's not just WhatsApp. Meta is under fire for another cyber safety issue. Instagram has allegedly run ads related to child sexual abuse, and it is being questioned on the same. Google and Apple Store has been asked to take off Chinese app that can manipulate batteries of e-rickshaws. Now, government is tracking steps to tackle cybercrime. Sumita gets us this report on government's latest actions on WhatsApp username feature.
That's right. A couple of days after IT Ministry sent Meta a notice over its username feature, we're given to understand from government sources that today Meta officials or WhatsApp officials were summoned to sort of give explanation on the matter on the usernames a feature that has been proposed by WhatsApp here in India, even though the feature has not been completely rolled out. And Meta sources tell us that the feature is being planned for a rollout by the end of this year. So what are government sources suggesting as far as this matter is concerned? That Meta officials came to IT Ministry and of course the government sensitized them on their side of the matter, suggesting that perhaps this feature could lead to impersonation, it could lead to scams, it could also lead to digital identity theft, digital arrests and so many other issues that could crop up, especially if this feature is rolled out to all the users. In fact, now we're given to understand that WhatsApp is going to sort of submit their reply, submit their response, perhaps any corrective measures that WhatsApp is going to take within the time frame that the government has granted, which is of 3 days. Remember, this is coming in a few days after a notice was sent to WhatsApp on this particular matter. In fact, the government had then stated that this should be rolled out after due consultation and not before that. And not just WhatsApp, but a similar notice was also issued to Telegram as well as to Signal, and both the apps, according to government sources and what they told us, that both the apps have been asked to furnish an explanation on similar features that exist on these apps as well. Now, remember, this is coming in even as just a short while back, government sources told ET Now that Meta platform, in fact, IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav had directed meity officials to summon Meta officials on sexually explicit content on Instagram and, of course, their ads and related features. So, of course, that is also what we're given to understand. And this summoning was on the matter of Instagram promoting child sexual abuse material. And, of course, meity will be seeking an explanation from Meta on how these ads were allowed to be on the platform in the first place and how was sexually explicit material allowed to be on the platform.
Absolutely. From, stopping Telegram around the NEET exams to, in fact, questioning WhatsApp over the rollout of username feature to taking into account the current nuisance caused by some of the apps that could remotely operate these e-rickshaws. Of course, government is taking a note of all of these and, in fact, tracking down on some of the cyber crimes. To discuss this now, we are joined in by Rakesh Maheshwari. He's a former senior director, meity. And then we have Puneet Bhasin. She is cyber and data protection expert. Thank you so much for joining us today on ET Now. Now, first question, of course, is how can, the law enforcement authorities can effectively scale down on some of these, rampant and increasingly growing and evolving and increasingly becoming, these cyber criminals increasingly becoming smarter over the past couple of years. How can they effectively do this? And is banning the only solution that we have for now? Puneet, let's go over to you first.
Namaskar, Maheshwari ji. Nice to meet again. And yes, to everyone in the audience, technology today has become our third arm, literally. But unregulated technology is what is exposing us to a large number of crimes. So if you see, I'm quite certain most of you are aware that there is nothing called privacy the moment you have a device in your hand, which you practically have at every point of time. You may say whatever features you have enabled, eventually whether it's your microphone giving away your data, whatever data you're storing on your device, your geolocation, your heart rate, your behavior, everything is being tracked minutely. In such a scenario, if the government does not go ahead to take very stringent steps in order to regulate these technologies applications, I think we are just looking at a monster that can absolutely, become the main source of economic drainage of our economy. Obviously, if there are digital arrests, there are cyber crimes, there is money draining out of the Indian economy. And apart from that, victimization of Indian people, which is another mental drain altogether, which affects productivity, which affects individuals at large. I think it's a great step being taken by the government to regulate. They are not banning exactly. It's like temporary bans till the regulation can happen. But yes, regulation of these different forms of technology, whether it may be apps pertaining to e-rickshaws, whether it may be Meta, whether it may be all these different applications, including GoDaddy, which is being pulled up now, definitely the regulation is something which was a need of the hour. And it's being done in a timely fashion.
Let's go over to you, Mr. Maheshwari, and let's get your reaction on this. And, I'm looking at some of the examples, and they are sort of a reaction. What can we do proactively to actually, mandate the way in which some of these apps are actually designed so that such crimes don't happen? And rather than, like a reactive approach, what can the government do proactively to stop any of these nuisances from happening?
Yeah, so thank you first of all. See, the reality of this world is that in cyber, anybody can communicate, create, or maybe create a mischief from within their home, from anywhere in the world, at any time of the day. And given this fact, and given this reality, the government therefore has come up with certain due diligence rules as applicable to digital platforms, be it social media or be it any other intermediary. So that's the proactive part. Beyond this, the law enforcement agencies, any other government department, whoever deals with whichever law, on a proactive basis, on a reactive basis, has mechanisms to get to know about whatever illegal is going on. There are provisions in the law to be able to approach the corresponding platforms. And if it is leading to, in fact, the rules are being tightened day by day in view of whatever the kind of harms that it can create, and in certain exceptional cases where it leads to sovereignty, integrity issue or huge public order issue or maybe defense related issues, government even has 69A powers to be able to block. But time and again, government, at least Ministry of Electronics and IT, I can say for sure, doesn't do it suo motu. They take cognizance of whatever has been brought to their knowledge. Certain is the agency which looks into the cybersecurity matters on a suo motu, on a proactive basis. So I'll say there are proactive as well as reactive means available to the government, and government has the responsibility to ensure that this cyber world remains as much as, I'll say, fraud-free and
Right. Let's come to the latest what has happened when it comes to the matter of the e-rickshaws and, like some people manipulating the e-rickshaws, via apps, and some of these apps have been questioned, have been banned from, Google Play Store, Apple App Store. So what specific automated screening parameters probably can some of these, big tech players also like Google, like Apple can apply to prevent, such, to detect such app designed to cause malice to the people?
Yeah, so once again, in this cyber world, which is so dynamic, where new weaknesses get to become known on a day-to-day basis, maybe any Play Store, for that reason, they might have done their due diligence at the time of onboarding them. There is a requirement of continuous monitoring as well. But simultaneously, when there are specialized agencies like CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team, which is the nodal agency of Government of India, is a 24/7 agency. So whether it has been brought in, I mean, suo moto to the knowledge of the Play Store, or has been brought in by or through, I'll say, certain or maybe any other agency, and you have become aware of certain flaws in the applications which are being misused and which have repercussions, huge repercussions, or are being used in illegal activities. Naturally, it's the responsibility of the government, of the Play Stores, of any other stakeholders to take necessary corrective actions. They have not been banned permanently. They have been blocked. They have been removed. If at all some of these apps have been removed, naturally it is expected that the corrective actions are taken, security flaws are removed, and they will be onboarded again.
From Google, Apple, Play Store to let's move over to something that was top of our conversations a couple of days ago, the entire WhatsApp username rollout. Puneet Bhasin, since you are a cyber and data protection expert, help us understand what all damage can, in fact, the username rollout actually cause when it comes to cyber crimes and when it comes to online frauds and digital arrests and so on and so forth?
At the outset, I would say India has become one of the largest targeted populations for cybercrimes, without doubt. That is something which I don't think anybody would say that is not the issue. The targeting of Indian population is not only from cybercrime gangs within India, but international cybercrime gangs, maybe nation-state actors, all of which is already documented. Now, in such a situation, if a feature like username, which is so-called giving privacy or hiding the details of the entity of a person on WhatsApp who is communicating with others, is rolled out, it is an absolute disaster. Because already, if I will say, like on ground, when we are practicing the cybercrime litigation, the kind of matters, the challenge that the police faces is being able to trace a perpetrator in cybercrimes. Now, because a WhatsApp number is there and it is linked to an identity which can be traced to an Indian telecom service provider, that is the sole reason why, to a great extent, the WhatsApp crimes that are occurring, crimes using the WhatsApp platform, or any groups or digital arrests where an individual has called using a WhatsApp number, all of this is comparatively at this stage being traced by the police, the identity of the person, though many times, yes, the SIM card belongs to a third party. But at least to some extent, the traceability, because the telecom service provider is Indian, is happening. The moment, whether it's Meta or any other chatting platform, when chats are sought, when evidences which are deleted on those chat platforms are sought, the standard response that the police receives, or that even opposing advocates, everybody receives, the complainant receives, is that a court order has to be obtained, which is a lengthy process. These organizations being governed by their own laws and their own jurisdiction. That is exactly the reason why we have the Indian Digital Data Protection Act now, wherein if any organization is offering services into India, cyber services, digital services, they need to be governed by the Indian law only. They need to have an Indian presence. They are by default, by offering their services into India, accepting the governance of Indian law as the primary. So even if, let's say, WhatsApp is going ahead to roll out this username feature, which will mean that then for the law enforcement in the country and for the government in our country, in accordance with the DPDP Act, they will have to at any and every point of time unmask this data. It cannot be absolutely a feature that they say we are offering to a user that your identity.
At this point, Ma'am Bhasin, I'm tempted to ask you then where is actually the legal line between public safety and the user right to digital anonymity?
Well, public safety gains paramount importance over digital anonymity. That is a standard thing. So we need to see public policy. We need to see the larger interest where, even if there is a 10% of population which will misuse this username feature, that is the worst part of it as compared to the balance that may or may not misuse. So the chances of misuse are way higher. And individuals, maybe even outside the country, who may misuse, it's very, very common. Even now that is happening within the country. So the balance is always in favor of public policy, public interest, and not individual anonymity. If there is absolute anonymity today, a person can do just anything and go completely untraceable. That is not an option under the Indian law. It can never be an option under Indian law.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Rakesh Maheshwari, for joining us today. Due to paucity of time, unfortunately, I'll have to quickly wrap up this conversation. But thanks again for your inputs and insights. It is time for us to slip into a very short break. You don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.